Like all the evangelists, the unknown anonymous elite scribe we name Luke also consulted sources in writing his gospel. But Mary and Joseph were not his sources. He probably never met either of them, and even if they had been alive when he was, which is highly doubtful, he wouldn't really care to interview them. Stop making Luke and the other gospel writers into 21st century Western journalists and historians, folks. But Luke, nevertheless, did have sources, and he did consult these. In fact, he admits this in his introduction. Who were these sources that Luke consulted in order to write his gospel? Scholars generally agree that the gospel we call Mark, the earliest written gospel, was one of the sources that Luke used. For instance, Luke chapter 21 is itself based on Mark chapter 13. Many modern believers think these chapters describe the end of the world, and in a certain sense they do, but not at all like how 21st century Western people imagine the end or the world. All of this in Luke chapter 21 and Mark chapter 13 is intertwined with information about the destruction of the Jerusalem temple in 70 Common Era. Mark wrote his gospel around that time and nowhere near Jerusalem. Did he write after the temple was destroyed? Or did the writer we call Mark compose his gospel just before this event happened, during the Judean War that led up to the temple's destruction? Even if he wrote just after the temple was destroyed, remember, there was no news media, no cable news, no internet in his day, no telecommunications, so news took a very long time to get around. So, to the author we know as Mark, it is possible that the event of the temple being destroyed had not yet taken place. However, when Luke got around to writing his gospel, sometime probably in the 90s, maybe 25 years after Mark, he was well aware that the destruction of Jerusalem and its temple had already occurred. What then does Luke want to tell his readers now that the temple no longer exists? In verses 25 through 28, Luke separates what is coming upon the world, a forthcoming event, from what has already come upon Jerusalem, a past event in Luke's day. The judgment that will take place soon at the coming of the Son of Man on a cloud, verse 27, will be far more important and far greater than the judgment on the Jerusalem temple that followed upon its rejection of Jesus as the teacher. Here, Luke sounds a clear warning for his readers. Faithful believers, however, according to Luke, have nothing to fear. When they see the cosmic signs and the earthly catastrophes that strike terror in people, they should know that their personal rescue or deliverance is near. Translations that speak about redemption in these verses do not refer to Christ's death and resurrection, but instead mean rescue from this impending distress. From where does Luke get this confidence that everything's going to be okay? He explains in verses 34 through 36. The Lucan Jesus says, "Beware that your hearts do not become drowsy from carousing and drunkenness and the anxieties of daily life, and the day catch you by surprise, like a trap, for that day will assault everyone who lives on the face of the earth. Be vigilant at all times and pray that you have the strength to escape the tribulations that are imminent and to stand before the sky vault man." This advice may derive from Luke's special source, what scholars call L, that is, materials unknown by the other evangelists, known only to Luke, or used only by Luke. Or this advice may even be Luke's personal literary creation. Whatever the source of these verses, Luke remains consistent with his exhortation to vigilance and prayer. Next time, we're going to talk about being vigilant in the Gospel of Luke. Also, during these Advent and Christmas seasons, expect a deep dive from Bible Alive presentations into the Gospel of Luke.